Welcome to Bangkok, Thailand. If you're planning to live in this city, you're going to need to know the ins and outs of the condo market. I'm Cal, and I've been living here in Bangkok for 9 years. And I've covered condos extensively on this channel. And in today's video, I'm going to cover everything you need to know about the condo rental process here in Thailand. I'll cover lease lengths, how to find condos, and key factors that you need to consider, everything you need to know about agencies, what's included in a condo rental, negotiating the lease and paying the deposit, the necessary documents that you'll need to sign a lease, how to pay rent and utilities, maintenance and additional costs that you need to consider. And let me know if you have any additional questions that I didn't cover here. Let's get started with a pretty common question that I've received on this channel. Can you rent a condo with a short-term lease, and how long does a lease need to be? Here in Thailand, standard leases are 1 year long. And when you browse condo listings or contact an agency, the vast majority of available units will have landlords that require you to sign a 1-year lease. It's possible to negotiate a shorter lease, but the minimum lease length is normally 6 months, and that will need to be negotiated with individual landlords. And you may need to pay a higher rental rate in order to get a 6-month lease. I'll cover short-term rentals in greater detail in an upcoming episode. And the rest of this video will focus on the long-term rental market. You can generally follow 2 approaches when it comes to renting a condo. Work with an agency or do it yourself. First, you can contact an agency and let them know exactly what you're looking for, and they'll help you find it. And second, you can walk into the condo management office, which is called the juristic office here in Thailand, and ask if there are any available units to rent. Some buildings have very active management offices. Others will have a main condo agency that's very well known in the building. And finally, some won't be able to help you at all. But prior to making that decision, you'll want to do some basic research using 3 websites with condo listings: Property Hub, DD Property, and Hip Flat. The best approach is to start passively viewing the condo listing websites about 2 months before you plan to rent. You'll find a huge number of listings on each website, and you can use these listings to identify buildings of interest. But don't spend too much time looking at individual condo listings, as most of the listings aren't actually available, as they're often old listings which are constantly refreshed by the websites in order to generate traffic. But you can use these sites to identify buildings of interest for you and make a list. Walk around to each building and ask at the management office if there are any available units. Or you can contact an agency and get them to do the legwork for you. So should you use an agency? The first thing that you should know is that using an agency is free for renters. Landlords generally pay the agency a 1-month commission in order to find a tenant and provide support during the tenancy. The main advantage in not using an agency is that you may have more room for negotiation if the landlord doesn't need to pay that 1-month fee to an agency. We'll discuss negotiation specifically a little bit later in the video. But there are significant downsides to not using an agency, especially for newcomers. First, established agencies will use lease templates. Those leases will generally reflect well-established norms for foreigners here in Thailand. In addition, the agency will ensure that the English and Thai versions of the lease are the same, as the official lease is actually the Thai version. If you skip an agency, you're trusting that the leases are identical, or you'll need to use a translator in order to check. Second, agencies will normally check and document the full inventory and any damages in the condo prior to rental. Third, and this one is very important, the agency will do your TM30 documentation. The TM30 is a notification tool used by the Thai government to document the whereabouts of foreigners in the country. And anytime you leave the country, you'll need to update the TM30 for immigration purposes like 90-day reporting. If all of this sounds very unfamiliar, you definitely want to use an agency, as the immigration bureaucracy here can get pretty irritating. However you choose choose to rent a condo, always check that the TM30 reporting process is clearly defined. And fourth, an established agency will provide support during your rental period. Normally, the agency will set up a group chat on the line application, and any potential problems or issues can be handled in that chat. But not all agencies are created equal here in Thailand, as there aren't any regulations or qualifications governing agencies in this country. And you'll find a wide range of different agencies and freelancers advertising on the property listing websites. And you only want to work with agencies that have a long and established track record. For these agencies, the business model depends on maintaining a good reputation, gaining clients through referrals, and keeping everybody happy. Happy customers equal long-term business. And this can contrast very sharply from more short-term profit motivations that often lead to scams and hustles. I show condos here on the channel with a company called Amazing Properties. They've been in operation since 2009. It's Western managed, and I've worked with them pretty extensively. So personally, I'd recommend contacting them. I can't speak to other agencies as I simply don't have the experience of working with them. And Thailand has very strict defamation laws, which can make it difficult to identify businesses that engage in negative practices, as any negative reviews or comments are grounds for a lawsuit under the defamation laws. In Thailand, it's always best to work with large and established companies, which enforce strict ethical and professional standards in order to maintain their reputations and long-term business. Whichever agency you choose, always do some basic research on the company first. And before you start your condo hunt, it's important to be aware of the difference between service departments and condos. Service departments have a single owner for the entire building. And this differs from condos, which have individual owners for each unit. Many service departments charge higher than normal electricity and water rates, while other buildings may give tenants an allowance for electricity usage, and you'll be charged extra when you exceed that allowance. In contrast, if you rent a condo, you'll normally pay the regular city rates, which are approximately 4 baht per kilowatt hour or 12 cents. Accommodations in Thailand normally come fully furnished. This includes furniture, beds, TVs, appliances, even kitchenware. You'll occasionally find unfurnished condos, but it's quite rare. And when renting a condo, it's typically quite difficult to remove the furniture, as landlords normally don't have anywhere to store it. And this means that it can be more difficult to rent a condo if you have furniture already. And if you make any changes to the condo, including the removal of furniture, you need the explicit permission from the owner. Even if you think you're improving the condo, you'll need the owner's written approval. And this can include even minor changes like putting up a picture or painting, as this can cause wall damage. If you're planning to make any changes, it can be best to include this in the Memorandum of Understanding, as this will help you avoid any surprises when it comes to your deposit. We'll get into the Memorandum of Understanding and deposit shortly. What about Wi-Fi and cable? Service departments often come with a Wi-Fi connection, but many are older buildings and they may have relatively slow internet speeds. And condos normally don't come with any Wi-Fi or cable access. Setting up, paying for, and eventually canceling these services are typically the tenant's responsibility. But these costs are generally quite reasonable, with high-speed internet costing between 500 and 1,000 Thai baht per month, and installation at around 1,000 baht. In order to set up a cable or internet connection, you'll need to visit a telecommunication shop, which is normally located in any mall. Bring the original signed copy of your lease agreement and your passport. Select a package and arrange a time and date for the technician to visit your condo and complete the installation. And internet speeds in Thailand are exceptionally fast. They rival and even surpass most Western countries. So the slower speeds in those older service departments can make for for a huge difference. When choosing a building, especially an older building, always inquire about the internet connections and available speeds. When it comes to furry animal friends, most buildings won't allow pets. You can find pet-friendly buildings, but they may stipulate a specific weight for your pet, and even if the building is pet-friendly, you'll still need written permission from the owner in order to keep a pet. It's also important to be aware that many parks here in Bangkok won't allow pets, so if you have a dog, it's best to research both pet-friendly condos and pet-friendly neighborhoods, as there are a few parks in the city that allow dogs. One of them is right here at Bangkok Park that has an adjacent dog park. Once you've decided that you like a particular condo unit, you'll need to sign a lease, and you'll need to provide a few key documents. It normally includes copies of your passport, photo, and visa pages, but some landlords may want a work permit. If you're working with an agency, let them know ahead of time what your visa situation is, and they'll ensure that you only view condos with landlords that will accept your particular visa. And prior to actually drafting a lease, you may be asked to pay a booking fee and sign a memorandum of understanding. The booking fee is normally equivalent to 1 month's rent, and it removes the condo from the market while the lease is drafted. And the memorandum of understanding is an agreement which includes all the terms that will be included in the lease, and it's signed by both the prospective tenant and the landlord. You should ensure that you negotiate all the terms of the lease and include them in the memorandum of understanding before you pay a booking fee, as the booking fee is non-refundable. And the lease will be drafted and ready to sign within a day or two based on all the terms that are included in the memorandum of understanding. And the booking fee is then used to pay the first month's rent. But like anything, booking fees can be negotiated on a case-by-case basis. Before you sign the lease, you should review the terms. Most leases are just standardized templates with additions from the memorandum of understanding. This will normally include a clause for late payment, and this may be 500 or 1,000 baht per day. The lease should also have a complete inventory of all the items in the condo and any damages. This may include large items like fridges and TVs, smaller devices like TV and air conditioning remotes, and even kitchen and bedware. But always check the full inventory and make sure that all the appliances work correctly. And review the lease for any strange clauses. This might have something to do with having guests over or allowing the landlord access to the unit. If you notice anything strange, you can normally request its removal. It shouldn't be a problem. A good agency should do all of this for you and review it with you. And when you sign the lease, you'll normally need to provide the landlord with a deposit that's equivalent to 2 months' rent. The deposit is held for the duration of the tenancy, and any damages will be deducted from the deposit at the end of the lease. And one of the most common concerns that tenants have is whether the landlord will return the deposit. Personally, I've never lost a deposit in 9 years of living here. This is one of those issues that gets a distorted amount of attention online. If you search Reddit or expat forums, you'll find plenty of stories about lost deposits. But this isn't necessarily representative of reality. People tend to post negative stories, and negative stories get a lot of attention. And very few people go online and post a story about how everything went fine and they got their deposit back. But the reality is, most people do get their deposits back, at least in part. If you plan to move out, you should contact the agency or landlord 1 to 2 months in advance. When you move out, the condition of the condo will be checked against the photographs and inventory when you sign the lease. And any damages that are not due to normal wear and tear will be documented. The landlord will deduct this value from the deposit and return the balance. And the lease should stipulate how long it will take to get the deposit back, but it normally should be within 30 days. There's no standard calculation on costing repairs, but in my experience, it can be common for repair costs to be slightly inflated. Normal wear and tear should be acceptable, but some landlords may attempt to deduct it from your deposit. A credible agency should help you avoid any unwarranted deductions. And if you end your lease early, you should expect to lose your full deposit. You can come to agreements with individual owners that may allow you to keep some of your deposit. And there are two possibilities possible options that you can insert in the lease agreement. First, you can add a lease takeover stipulation, and this will consist of finding a replacement tenant that can take over your lease. While this may make practical sense, most landlords will refuse this, and this is fair as the price and rental agreement is based on a 1-year term with one individual tenant. Given the popularity of short-term rentals, if it was extremely easy to break a lease and recover your deposit, this would be a very attractive option, and the whole rental market would be in significant trouble here in Thailand. And second, if you work for an embassy, you can normally add a diplomatic clause that allows you to break the lease if you're reposted to a different country. This is obviously quite rare and not applicable for most people. If you want to renew a lease, you should contact the agency or landlord at least a month in advance. But this may depend on the time frame included in the lease, so always check that lease first. Normally, you'll need to sign a new lease with the extended dates, but some landlords will accept a month-to-month tenancy after your first year. Most landlords in Thailand are generally open to negotiation and can reduce the rental prices or adjust the lease terms. For example, agreeing to a 6-month contract. But negotiation is a give and take process, so focus on what's most important to you. And when it comes to price, your room for negotiation will come down to several key factors. The condo market in Thailand doesn't always follow a standard supply-demand logic, or even make much sense. There are plenty of overpriced units on the market that can sit empty for long periods of time, and you could negotiate a 30% discount on some of these condos and they still wouldn't offer good value. Conversely, well-priced condos tend to get rented very quickly and often at asking price. And all of this means that there's no single easy recommendation when it comes to negotiation. But if you want to target for when a condo comes to market, you could aim for a 10 to 20% price reduction. But if the unit's well priced, don't be surprised if it's gone within the day. In order to pay rent, it's definitely best to open a Thai bank account and pay by bank transfer. But if you don't have a Thai bank account, you have a couple of options. First, you can use an international bank transfer. Wise is a good option. And second, you can withdraw money at an ATM using your foreign bank card, deposit the rent in the landlord's bank account, and show them the transfer slip. One common question that I've received is whether it's possible to make bulk payments and pay several months' rent or even a year in advance, and whether this will provide for a discount on your rent. It's definitely possible to pay in bulk or upfront, but you'll need to negotiate that with each individual landlord, and they won't necessarily provide a discount on your rent. In Thailand, any request or change can be viewed as a hassle, even if the request is actually beneficial for the landlord. Things don't always make sense. You'll also need to pay utilities, and this includes electricity, water, internet, maybe your phone. The bills will normally be delivered to your condo mailbox, and you have several payment options. If you have a Thai bank account, you can pay directly online in the bank app, on the service provider apps, or at an ATM. Or you can pay in person at Tesco, Lotus, or 7-Eleven stores, which charge a 15 to 20 baht fee for the service and allow you to pay by cash or credit card. Simply bring the bill to the clerk or cashier, they'll scan it and you can pay directly. Water bills are normally paid directly at the condo management office and in cash. And internet, cable, or phone bills can be paid directly at the service provider, 7-Eleven, or in the mobile banking and service provider apps. Suffice to say, you have plenty of options even if you don't have a Thai bank account. Another common question that many prospective expats may have is, who is responsible for general maintenance fees? This may include appliances like a fridge that suddenly stops working. If the damage wasn't directly caused by the tenant, the landlord should be responsible. Conversely, any damages caused by the tenant are his or her responsibility, and this may include minor repairs up to a certain amount if it's stipulated in the lease. This includes things like replacing a light bulb or fixing a leaky tap. If any damages occur, it's best to contact the landlord and agency immediately immediately to avoid exacerbating any problems. The shared group chats can be very helpful for this. And most repairs will be completed very quickly as buildings tend to have handymen on site. You should also schedule air conditioning cleaning every 6 months. Again, the handyman will do it. The common area management fees are normally paid by the landlord. These fees can be quite high, and it's definitely not normal for tenants to pay them. And that's it. You're ready to start your condo search. If you have any additional questions, let me know in the comments section. I'll see you next time. Have a great day.